Welcome to Learning Forward Saturday. On my show today, I have a very special person. A person who has been the spirit and man behind the show of the fabled Fabindia School we have talked of in so many shows. He is the co-founder of the Fabindia School, who actually was involved in digging the foundation of the school. He always shares this famous story with us that the hardest job is to break the foundation and set it up. And that is the strength of this gentleman who has been a wonderful designer, architect, spirit, support, trustee, mentor for all of us at the Fabindia School community. An architect by profession who believes in what he likes to do. And with that spirit, he created this oasis of a school called Fab India in the deep down desert state of Rajasthan. He has done a specialization in architecture. He is a faculty at the school, guest faculty at the School of Planning in Delhi. He practices his interest day and night. He has photography, art, direction, films, and he's very fascinated about educating people in rural India. Traveled extensively in India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, US, Spain, Italy, UK, photographing places, following his passion, and actually making a very special place for himself in the world. Welcome to the Learning Forward show. Ravi Kaimal, honor and privilege to have you with us, sir.
Thank you, Sandeep. The honor and privilege is mine too, to be able to share such thoughts and discuss this subject, which is very dear to my heart.
Ravi, you have been a very passionate educator. Yes, architecture is the ultimate for an educationist because it involves design, it involves a very deep cognitive approach and critical thinking. Why this passion for education beyond your profession?
Well, it goes back a long way. Both my grandparents, my paternal and maternal grandparents, were both educators. They were both principals. One was of school and the other was of a college. And I have seen that years and decades after they retired, the effects of their work continued. We would hear anecdotally good things about them and how they changed people's lives and so on. And one has heard stories about the Gandhian struggle through which schools were set up and and how much people sacrificed to get a good education for their children and to improve the social network all around them through the medium of schools. So I have seen this firsthand and I've heard stories. So it was always something that was dear to my heart. So when William and his father John Bissell, the founder of Fabindia, used to talk about rural India and the problems it faced and so on, it struck a chord with me, and I said if to help, I'd be happy to do that. So when there was this Fabindia 30th anniversary event in Ghanerao, the Rani Sahib of Ghanerao said that there was no good girls' school in that whole region, and that there was a general lack of good educational facilities in that region. So that is what kind of prompted William to start working on setting up a school somewhere in that region, because the local gentry were interested in supporting that too. And William in his earlier writings also had written about such things, about how somebody from the rural area with a good education could compete with anybody in the world. So that is something where we both had very similar ideals in that sense, and thought that a good school in the rural transformative effect not only on the persons who went to that school but also to that region as a whole. So keeping in mind what we believed and saw and the Rani Sahib's words, preference was given to girl children, because in many parts of India it is a societal fact that girl children were given less of a preference in everything, including education. So we structured the school in such a way that girl children were given preference in many ways. So that is how the school started going.
Please stay with us. We will be back after a quick commercial break. Thank you, Ravi. That's very interesting. You actually mentioned about the girl child.
Yes.
Now, this was 30 years back.
That's right.
We are still exactly where we were 30 years back, because today also we are saying girl child from across India, Africa, even right to the developed world. We are still talking of the girl child and the ladies to come to the fore, women on top. We are still talking of all that. Nothing has really changed in the last 30 years. That's one point. Second, how do you define a good school? Because you have seen very deeply how education happens all over the world, and you have really connected with the foundation of a change maker school, which is in the heart of rural India, where the biggest challenge was taken perhaps to bring alive some education. How do you define a good school in this perspective? And second, why haven't been able to proceed more with girl child education despite Herculean efforts like yours with William?
Well, I would define a good education as something that equips the person with not only the tools but also the interpersonal skills and the tools of how to think, to be able to engage with the world in a sense and make one's way through it with one's own unique talents and abilities, and be a positive influence through their life. So that's what I would consider a good education. I know this sounds a bit general, but broadly speaking, that's what it's about. It's not only about being given knowledge to put inside the head. It's also about learning how to learn. It's about learning how to deal with different kinds of people. So it's about learning how to understand things that are happening in our physical environment, our social environment, our economic environment, and so on, in a larger sense, to feel connected and to have a sense of understanding, even if one doesn't have all the information, to be able to know how to learn. To me, that is a very, very critical aspect of a good school.
My second part of the question was addressing the girl child.
Yes. About the girl child, I would say that while there is a huge amount of progress still to be made, it is my personal belief that things have improved quite a lot in the last 30 years. Like when we started the Fabindia School, there were hardly any other schools in that region other than the government schools, which were not very well regarded. Soon after we started, we seem to have been the spark for several other schools to start up in that area, and it seems to have become a bit of an education hub. And from having trouble persuading parents and families to send the girl child to our school, I think now the idea of sending the girl child to a good school is no longer such a big challenge as it used to be. I'm not saying it's not a challenge universally, but it's definitely less of a challenge. We've had many girl children who were the first generation learners from their family, first generation literate, and so on. So we know from example, from individual cases, that there is a change, although there is much more to be done.
Thank you for that positive spirit with which you've explained. Am I correct in saying that we have moved from an era of persuasion to appreciation? What used to be persuasion 30 years back for the girl child,
yes,
it's perhaps now appreciation that the girl must go to school.
I think so. I think that is definitely a big change. We see women in very top leadership positions in many situations, which is much more frequent now than it used to be earlier. So I think in that sense there is a much greater understanding of the benefits of educating the girl child.
Thank you. I know you personally and as a doting father, and then with a mother who has been a major role in her profession and her family. I really appreciate you. Would you like to share on a closing, on a personal note with our listeners, how two professionals, between a lovely lady, your wife Sudeshna, and yourself, you have put your personal, professional, and social life together?
Well, it goes through phases. So basically, we know that we have to prioritize the immediate family first, and our son, who's in school, he's the first priority. So we take turns. We, how should I say, share parental duties, and we have to coordinate our travels and meetings and so on, for which we use technology like the web-based calendars and so on. So we get pop-ups on our screens and so on. So we use such tools to coordinate and to try and see that he's not neglected to the best of our abilities. We are not perfect, and I'm sure that there are many things we could do much better, but we try and do what we can.
So beautiful. Thank you for sharing your love for travel, your passion for education, and how technology is helping parenting.
Hugely. The technology is a huge help. A huge help.
I think that will be the better part of our show today, when we said couples should share calendars.
Actually, we do. We find it a huge convenience. So especially if you're busy, it's very hard to spend time saying no on this day, I'm busy from this time to this time, and so on. So it's much easier to just put it on the calendar with a pop-up notification sufficiently in advance and all the rest of it. So it really makes life a lot easier in that sense.
Thank you for making a life a lot easier. I'm so honored and privileged to have this conversation with you. I'm sure viewers all over the world will benefit from listening to this, wherein how professionals can make a great life together for a better world. Cheers to you, Ravi.
The honor and privilege is mine. Thank you so much, Sandeep, for all the great things you're doing at the school and your leadership in this whole field. Thank you so much.